Hi, David again from concertblogger.com. Today I have the wonderful privilege of sitting down with Ilan Rubin from the New Regime. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you for taking some time out of your incredibly busy schedule to sit down and have a little chat with us. Tell us what's going on.
My pleasure, likewise.
Well, let's start at the beginning. How did you get into music? How did you say, hey, you know, this is what I want to do for a living, this is what I want to be? Because it seems like you've made it to the very top of the music industry, playing all these big, huge shows and stuff. How did you start out?
Well, before I give you the origins, I definitely haven't made it to the top, but this is what I'm working to get.
All right.
And I'm getting older, so I need to do it for myself rather than with all these bands, you know?
Absolutely.
But starting at the beginning, I started playing drums at about 7 or 8 years old. And like most people, once you start developing your taste and you get your heroes, that's what you want to be in one version or another when you grow up. So at a very young age, I knew I wanted to do music professionally. And fortunately, I had very supportive parents who recognized my talent and helped me grow it. Mm-hmm. And I've been touring professionally since about 14 years old.
Really?
And
wow.
I've been at it for a very, very long time.
So were your parents into the music industry in any way, or into music? Or
the extent of my parents in music is really more so with my dad. He was a drummer in high school bands and that sort of thing, but he made a decision at college to
live
have a
professional life, exactly, rather than
do all that. But that's why we had a drum set in the house, and having 2 older brothers who got into music before I did, it was an easy sort of doorway to walk through into the music world.
Of course. When you have something around you, it seems like that's what attracts you, when you have that available to you almost.
Exactly. So there was a drum set up in the garage, and I started messing around with it, but my dad realized that I was actually playing it rather than just making noise, or that I had rhythm. So he taught me a few things and got me started, and he's the one who got me into Led Zeppelin and the Beatles. And
well, once you're into John Bonham and stuff on the, you're a little kid and you can do John Bonham on the drums, you're hooked. Absolutely.
It doesn't get better than that.
It does not.
Nothing can top it for me. But anyway, from that point forward, I knew music is what I wanted to do, and luckily I had the support and the guidance to pursue it properly. I've had lots of great opportunities. And the majority of my career has been focused on as a drummer. That was my first instrument, like I said, about 7 or 8 years old. But as I gravitated towards the drums, my older brothers gravitated towards bass and guitar, so I had access to those instruments. And the older I got, I started picking up those instruments and adding them to the arsenal.
So to be a well-rounded, you have more of a chance if you know how to do everything than if you know only how to do one thing.
Yeah, almost. So I started picking those up, and just like with the drums, I became very obsessive with them and wanted to get as good as I could. And I picked up an instrument every few years, it felt like, but it wasn't until I was about 18 that I realized that if I can do all these things, it's fine, but if I don't do the thing that's most important, that glues it all together, being singing, then it's all kind of pointless. Mm-hmm. So I had an odd motivation to start singing and start the New Regime. As a drummer, when you are recording or you're off of a touring cycle, drums are the things that are usually recorded first. So I would be the first guy in and out of the studio and the first guy to wait for everybody else.
Of course.
And I was developing all these skills, and I thought, if I were to sing, I could do this all by myself. I can write my own songs, I can record my own songs, I can perform my own songs, and I don't have to waste any time and wait on anybody. So that's why I initially started the New Regime. So my first album is one called Coup, and those are literally the first 10 songs I've ever written.
Okay, that's good. That's cool.
I started the New Regime always with the intention of building it to eventually take over as your main
gig.
But I feel like I had it backwards, in the sense that I focused on it 110% as a studio work, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd hoped that with each release, the fan base would grow a bit, and then I could eventually tour. But it wasn't until late last year, when I finished the last 9 Inch Nails cycle, that I had the epiphany that it's backwards. I need to tour
so that people can hear you,
and
then they would want to buy that. Exactly.
So, look, on the one hand, I haven't had a chance to tour for the past 3 years, if not a bit more, because I went straight from joining Angels and Airwaves to playing on Paramore's album, which extended into a little bit of touring, and then I had to stop that because Nine Inch Nails started back up midway through 2013, and that cycle extended till 2014. And after that, I finished up an Angels and Airwaves album. So one thing led to another.
And you're always busy. There's never enough time for you to sit down and say, "This is the new regime is what I'm working on right now."
Now, during that entire time, I was consistently writing and recording music because, like I said,
because you're a professional musician.
But I have to depend on myself. So
exactly.
if I want to record at 1 in the morning or 2 in the morning in a hotel room or at studio at home, whatever it is, I can do that. And I can,
you don't need somebody else there to...
I can have a consistent quality output. But in terms of touring, I mean, there's more planning that goes into touring than actually playing the shows themselves.
Of course.
You know, and at this level, building the new regime from the ground up, I spent most of my time driving
or calling on the phone with some manager of some club somewhere, or trying to make something else happen.
With bands like Nine Inch Nails, I had the luxury of being holed up in a nice hotel room and setting up all my toys and being
able to do whatever you want to do for a little while.
But here is you drive 10 hours to play for half an hour. I'm certainly not complaining. I love it, and it's a different thrill building up the new regime as it is playing drums for another band. That's its own thrill, and I don't think anything will match the comfort I have with playing drums, because I've been playing drums for most of my life, much longer.
That's who you are.
Been playing, but it's a different thrill getting to reproduce those songs live, singing, because I also like to harness more of an improvisational approach to the songs live.
Okay.
So things change on
make it different. Every version of it is different.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't mean improvise in some jazz bow. But
exactly.
Things do change from night to night, so it's a different thrill than playing the same thing over and over and over again.
Okay, cool. So right now you're on tour, and you've got a few dates that you've just been doing here in the Northeast and on the East Coast.
Right now we're wrapping up a tour with a band called Dead Sarah. They're fantastic. It's been a great pleasure to play with them. They're a band out of LA. I wish the tour was longer, it was only 2 weeks. But we're finishing the last show tomorrow in Philadelphia. We just played in Hoboken last night.
Maxwell's very famous.
Sold out, really fun.
Really? So that's awesome. That's such a thrill to sell out a place, especially something like Maxwell's that's world famous, really, kind of club.
Yeah, they have a great following, and being able to open up on that tour has been fantastic. So we're wrapping up that tour. We were out with a band called Gang of Four for a month.
Oh, Gang of Four, yeah.
And before that, we were out with Failure for a couple weeks.
Okay.
So it's been a good string of shows, and then we recently confirmed supporting Muse in Mexico City.
Muse, cool.
Extremely excited about. They're going to be the biggest shows I've ever done as a solo
artist, and
so I can't wait to play in front of the audiences.
And in Mexico City, and it's coming up at the end of the month, I believe.
End of the month, yeah. So it's 3 shows supporting them. I think November 17th, 18th, and 20th, and then on the 21st, we were recently added to the festival down there. I think it's called the Corona Capital Festival, and they're headlining it.
But you're involved in it.
They added us, so we'll probably opening up one of the stages, but.
That's awesome. All it takes sometimes is that door to crack open just a little bit, just to have the one person that the connection needs to be made, that needs to get you to the next place or the next level that you want to be.
I want to believe in that, to be honest with you. And I feel like things have lined up, because generally speaking, I'm a very patient person, but in terms of career, I'm beyond impatient.
Of course.
I keep moving. So with music, I can write and record as much as I want, but touring and those things that are far more logistical and dependent on other things
and other people.
I'm always antsy to move to the next thing. So fortunately, we had those couple months worth of shows that were strung together.
And it makes you feel like, hey, it's moving forward, it's going somewhere, it's becoming what I want it to become.
And nightly, there's the fulfillment of a goal. You have the set, you want to do your best. Hopefully you walk off stage thinking, I did a good job.
This is a really good...
So I like that, and it works well for my brain.
Cool.
Because when I'm left to my own devices,
Always going.
Yeah.
So the new regime is made up of who exactly? What do you have in the band? What do you got going on? And how does it work?
It may be a bit confusing, but the new regime is me. So on album, I write, play, and sing everything.
Okay.
And then live, I assemble a band to reproduce the stuff live. So right now I have a brother of mine, Ilan Rubin, on bass, and then a good friend of ours, Hayden Scott, on drums. And that's how it works. You know, I don't like making comparisons or likening it to things because I don't want people to misconstrue it.
Get that in their head that this is what it's like, but it's not.
But it seems to be very much like Trent and 9 Inch Nails. I mean, he goes under the moniker 9 Inch Nails, but people know he's the one.
He's the one making it. He's the one doing all the.
And live, it's a different beast.
Exactly.
So, you know, I think that is a good way of describing what it is. On the album, that's my domain. And live, I share that domain and have other people help me.
Beck also is another guy that does the exact same thing. Beck is another guy that does the same idea of making it all happen. Yet he's got a top-notch group of musicians that he tours with to reproduce what he's created. So it's more of you're creating it, but you're putting it in someone else's hands and letting them do their thing, and it makes it a little bit different than what's on the album. But at the same time, that's a great thing.
It's actually very different to what's on the album because while I record, I kind of keep piling things on until I feel like it's finished. But live, you can only reproduce so much.
Exactly. There's only so many different tools you have at your disposal to make the sounds happen.
And I've wanted to avoid playing the tracks. So it's the three of us. We each have a sampler of some kind to bring some of those elements in. But I consciously stripped it down to a 3-piece live so that it's a definite different experience to the album.
Okay.
And the 3-piece opens up to, like I said, jamming things, extending things, and changing things up. It's a lot easier for 3 people to be on the same page and shift in different directions than it is 4.
Exactly.
So, yeah, with the help of samplers and a bit of technology, we're able to be a lean setup, but have a very, very full sound. Yeah.
Well, one thing I did want to hit on before we close up, and I guess you're going to play a song for us here, which is going to be great. Yeah, I think we want you to. I definitely think that. One thing I did want to hit on is your social media, because that's also a very big part of this whole thing and building up your fan base and stuff. And we want to make sure we get your social media contacts out there. What is the best way to follow? 2 ways, and I'll tell you why. Well, you can find me at The New Regime, whether that be on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, or Ilan Rubin, ILAN on the same outlets. The reason why it's tough to decide which ones I go by is that I've had the Ilan Rubin accounts for much longer. As you are you. As I am me. So I've wanted to build up the numbers on the New Regime side of things because you have to think that I have some 9 Inch Nails fans or Angels and Airwaves fans, and I don't want to overburden them with everything. Everything you do, exactly. So they know you're there. They know that's what they're getting into. Exactly. If they want to like that page, then they can like that page. And on your own page, it's a little bit of everything that you happen to be doing. There's always that fine line because everybody follows somebody where every time they see a post, they're considering whether that's going to be the moment where they hit unfollow. Yes. I know. I feel that too. It can just get so annoying. I don't want to be that guy. Yeah, exactly. You don't want to overpost, but you don't want to underpost. And yeah, there's a very, very tricky science to the whole situation there.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for taking a moment out of your day here and sitting down with us. And we'll set up for the song, and we'll be talking to you again very, very soon. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you.